Hi, I'm Gilbert Gottfried. I'm here with my co-host Frank Santopadre, and once again, it's Gilbert and Frank's amazing colossal obsessions.
It is indeed. So, Halloween week. Happy Halloween. And I wanted to do a little, we thought we'd do some horror film stuff. People have been saying, why don't you guys get back to talking about movies? So I thought we'd talk about some horror movies. But first, a little housekeeping. By the way, did you ever find out the name of the song from the Leslie Uggams?
Yes, I think I said that on a previous one. But anyway, that's Leslie Uggams had that show, the Leslie Uggams Show. And
Right.
she used to do a bit called Sugar Hill, I think it was called.
Yeah, Sugar Hill, which is
And-
also the name of one of the movies I'm going to pull out on you today.
Oh, and I'm pretty sure they were singing Sugar Pie Honey Bun.
Oh, that's the one. Okay, you did say it. Sure, it is Sugar Pie Honey Bunch?
Oh, maybe it's Honey Bun.
I think so.
Sugar Pie Honey Bun.
That's the one.
You know that I love you. Can't help myself. I love you and nobody else. Dun, 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 dun.
I would like to market the Gilbert Gottfried alarm clock. Wake up to your favorite 60s hits. A writer named Wyatt Doyle, a listener named Wyatt Doyle, sent us a book. He sent one for me and one for Gilbert, too, and I wanted to mention it. The Last Coloring Book, which is very, very strange. Illustrated by a guy named Jimmy Angelina, and who's terrific. And it's how do you describe this? It's a coloring book.
It's actors and sing a line from their movies.
Yes, it's Barbara Stanwyck, and there's Walter Matthau, and Ernest Borgnine, and our favorite Rod Steiger, and Willem Dafoe, and just everybody is in here. And it's James Coburn. It's very.
and I saw Vincent Price.
Vincent
there.
Price,
Yes.
and Martin Scorsese's mother, I believe, Catherine Scorsese, and Peter Sellers, and Jerry and the King of Comedy. And it's very, very interesting. It's a coloring book for mature readers. I love that on the back. It's a coloring book with lines of dialogue and their favorite movies. There's Sammy. So thank you for sending that to us. He sent one to me and one to Gil. Wyatt sent it, but Jimmy Angelina and Wyatt Doyle are the authors. They thought that would be up our alley, and it is. So
Yes.
for Halloween, I thought I would pull this list out
Okay.
on you. This was suggested by Jonathan Winchell, who's a researcher who helps us with the show sometimes, and he's very helpful. And he directed me to this website called Gizmodo. You know this site? And an article by a lady named Cheryl Eddy. We're going to give her credit. And this is called the 30 weirdest horror movies of the 1970s.
Okay.
And as soon as I saw this, and John sent it, and he said, I think Gilbert will love some of these. Now, most of these I haven't seen.
Yeah.
But I have this weird feeling you have.
Yeah.
And they're listed alphabetically. So starting at the top, and we'll see how many we can get through here. And this will be maybe a Halloween two-parter if we do too many of them. But starting with, of course, one we've talked about on this show, The Abominable Dr. Phibes.
Oh,
From
yeah.
1971.
Yeah, that we've seen.
Yeah.
But that,
And we've talked about it. In fact, I gave you dialogue from it to do the price comparison with Dana Gould.
Oh, yes.
When you guys did matching Vincent Prices, which I think people are loving. How do you explain Dr. Phibes? He's an organist who has who's disfigured in a car accident.
It's kind of like that, basically, Phantom of the Opera type premise.
With a revenge motive, where he decides to take revenge on the doctors who failed to save his wife's life.
And did it also have, like, Robert Morley?
It had Terry Thomas.
Terry Thomas.
Yeah,
yes.
and Joseph Cotton. A very, very strange film that spawned a sequel. It's Price at his campiest.
Yes.
Yeah, and at his goofiest. The Fetching Caroline Munro.
Oh, my God,
Played Mrs. Phibes. And the director was Robert Fuest. And we've talked about it on the show. It's very, very strange. And spawned a sequel, Dr. Phibes Rises Again. So we did a whole mini episode about that one. You can check it out.
Where can we find two better hemispheres without sharp north, without declining west? My face in thine eye, thine in mine appears, and true plain hearts do in the faces rest.
You know a film from 1976 called Alice, Sweet Alice, with Brooke Shields.
I remember, I think I've seen bits and pieces of it on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And this was Brooke Shields when she was like a little kid.
Yeah, it's called they describe it here as a proto-slasher movie. So we're going to put this out, too, I should say, to our listeners, because Paul Rayburn is not here to do research this week. So anything you guys know about these movies or any memories you have of them, post them and send them in. Here's one, The Asphyx from 1972. Does this ring a bell?
No.
A British horror film. This tale follows a Victorian-era man who realizes his primitive camera has captured images of a shrieking spirit that takes the soul of a person who is about to die.
At the first sign of death, it begins a cry of torment that drives the dying mad. The Asphyx. More than a myth. More than a maybe.
A smudge. And another one. Here. And finally, another here.
Gentlemen, what you have seen, what we have recorded, is the soul at the moment it departs the body.
What a premise.
Yeah.
It starred Robert Stevens, who played Sherlock Holmes in Billy Wilder's The Private Life of Sherlock Holmes. Here's a film called The Baby from 1973. Here's one I know you do know, Bad Ronald. You remember this TV movie with Scott Jacoby?
Oh, geez.
About a kid who's locked in a basement wall. He's kept in a basement wall by Kim Hunter from Planet of the Apes. You don't know this picture? It was a movie of the week.
It's so funny because it just seems like that premise has been used so many times.
Yeah.
Like the Twilight Zone.
Right. Well, she got caught. She got trapped in the. You're talking about when the little girl gets trapped in the wall.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. But this is. I'll give you the Kim Hunter of Planet of the Apes stashes her son in a secret room so he won't get caught after he accidentally kills a classmate. But then mom suddenly dies, and the boy Ronald lurks within the walls of the house even after a new family moves in.
Geez.
So he becomes a creepy peeper. Living in the wall. Dabney Coleman, your favorite, John Fiedler.
Wow.
Scott Jacoby. It was a made-for-TV, I think, ABC movie of the week. Bad Ronald.
Oh, this I have to see.
I thought you would know this one.
Wow.
Okay, so write us in about this one if you guys know it. The Corpse Grinders from 1971.
I know the title.
Yeah. How about Count Yorga Vampire?
That
with
was
Robert
like,
Quarry.
Yeah, that was an English.
Yeah, AIP.
Picture. And it was one of those where, like, back then they figured if you were a vampire, you were a count.
Right.
And you always had a cape and a medal. And,
right.
You know.
This one is interesting because it fought to avoid an X rating because it was apparently very graphic and took, according to this author here, took its cues from the Manson murders. It's sort of like if Manson was a vampire.
Wow.
It was made in 1970. Yeah. Robert Quarry was the star. And the actor who played Van Helsing, this is interesting to me, Roger Perry, was better known as Joanne Worley's husband. So that's fun trivia. I thought you figured you'd seen every vampire movie made to date. How about Day of the Animals from 1977? Jaws unleashed an avalanche of horror movies about rampaging wildlife. And this one involved a thinning ozone layer that turns animals into, in this author's words, the words of Cheryl Eddy, crazy killbeasts at high altitudes.
And not familiar with this movie, was there some mayor or rich person stopping them from closing down the park or beach
I'll tell you who was in it, probably.
Yeah.
Leslie Nielsen was in it.
Oh, great.
He dies shirtless in the rain while fighting a grizzly bear. Michael Ansara.
Oh,
Remember
wow.
him?
Yes.
And the married couple of Linda Day George and Christopher George.
They used to be in everything back then.
Yeah. She was on Mission Impossible, and he was in The Immortal.
Oh, my God, yeah. And I remember after Jaws, there were a million of those. There was Grizzly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's the deadliest Jaws.
Well, there was
on
Piranha
land.
that Joe Dante did.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Then there was that other one.
There was Orca the Killer Whale.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
Sure. Dino De Laurentiis.
And there was one where the monster was in the sand. And the blurb for the movie was, just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water, you can't get to it.
Was that Blood Beach?
It could be. Could be.
I think I saw that in the 79-cent theater. Okay, so here, let's see. We're at the Day of the Animals, 1977. Leslie Nielsen, Linda Day, Chris George, and Michael Ansar. Do you know a movie from 74 called Devil Times 5?
Wow.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar with that one either.
No.
It has to do with, I don't know, it has to do with piranhas. Here's one I know you know because you've talked about it at length on the show, and that's The Devil's Rain.
The Devil's Rain.
Oh, my God, yes. Ernest Borgnine, William Shatner.
Right.
And one line by a masked John Travolta.
Yes, indeed.
And when that movie came out, I think Saturday Night Fever was
1975 was the year of The Devil's
and
Rain.
So there were theaters showing that as John Travolta in The Devil's Rain.
Right.
And he's there in a monster mask, and he yells, "Blasphemer!" And that's his whole part.
And Van Borgnine, I've never seen it, but despite your urging, and I will catch up to it. Borgnine was the heavy?
Yeah. I think
and William Shatner was the
Shatner's a
hero.
sheriff.
Yeah, he was the hero. Directed by Robert Fuest, who made Abominable Dr. Phibes.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
Yeah, it was a fun movie.
Yeah.
And The Devil's Rain makes them all melt.
All their faces melt.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, this author describes it as spectacularly nuts.
Yeah.
What about a movie called Eaten Alive in 1977? Tobe Hooper. His follow-up to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Know that one?
No.
How about Empire of the Ants from 1977?
Was that Charlton Heston?
No, Joan Collins.
Joan Collins. Joan Collins. I think in there or in some movie.
Based on an H.G. Wells story.
I'm not positive. It could have been that one where they were trying to figure a noise to come up with. And the guy was in the commissary.
Uh-huh.
And he was drinking a Coke. And he was stirring the straw around in the crushed ice. And he thought, oh, great. They recorded him stirring crushed ice, and that was the sound of
That's the memory
ants. Yes.
that you have. A toxic spill turns harmless ants into giant monsters. Based on an H.G. Wells story, Bird-Eye Gordon.
Oh, wow.
The man who gave us the title of this, indirectly gave us the title of this show. Joan Collins fights giant mutated ants. Well, that's another subgenre, which was animals, not only animals that you said follow Jaws, but tiny animals growing.
Yeah, it's like, and it was usually radiation.
Right, right. Well, what about its companion film, Food of the Gods?
Oh,
from
with Marjo
1976?
Gartner.
Correct.
The phony preacher who did a film exposing all his tricks.
That's right.
Yeah.
Boy, he'd be an interesting guest for us.
Oh, he would be.
Marjo Gartner. And we're still working on Bird-Eye Gordon, by the way. Mr. Big, B-I-G production. It was a Bird-Eye Gordon, Food of the Gods, very loosely based on a story by H.G. Wells about oversized chickens, rats, wasps, and worms. And I guess it was radiation. I remember these advertising on TV in the 70s, but I was not
I remember
too young to go see them.
I used to sometimes read those Classics Illustrated comic books.
Yep.
And I think I asked my mother to send away because they had one of Dracula.
Uh-huh.
And they accidentally sent me one of Food of the Gods.
Really?
Yeah, I wanted Dracula.
What did you do with it?
Yeah, I don't know. I wish I would have saved all those.
There was another one with Shatner. There was a TV movie. I used to write one of those bad horror host shows. I wrote a show called Commander USA's Groovy Movies that nobody remembers. When I was first trying to get into the Writers Guild, and we wrote a show based on Kingdom of the Spiders.
Oh, my God,
Do you remember
yes.
this one?
Where
with Adrian Zemed.
And doesn't that end with basically the whole world covered in spider webs?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, indeed it does. And if anybody within the sound of my voice remembers Commander USA's groovy movies, write to me. How about a movie called Frightmare from 1974?
Frightmare.
Yeah, no, that doesn't do anything for you?
No.
How about from Larry Cohen, God Told Me To?
Oh, that was about a serial.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, with Tony LoBianco, Sandy Dennis, an actor you've talked about, Richard Lynch,
Oh, wow.
and in a very, very small role, Andy Kaufman.
Jeez.
How bizarre.
That is.
Now, Larry Cohen, who's a guy we got to get on this show, who not only made this and It's Alive and The Stuff.
And he did Olatroma.
No,
that was Kaufman.
That's Kaufman. That's Lloyd Kaufman. Larry Cohen did Q, the movie with the pterodactyl on top of the Chrysler building.
Michael
With
Moriarty,
Michael Moriarty
and David Carradine.
Correct. But he...
who was... I think it was Samuel Arkoff was produced.
That sounds right.
And somebody... I think the story is Roger Ebert went to the screening of Q, and he liked Michael Moriarty's performance, and he said to Arkoff, he said, it's a brilliant method performance in the middle of a pile of dreck, and Arkoff said the dreck was my idea.
That's great. That's great.
David Carradine.
This thing has been prayed back into existence.
Michael Moriarty.
It was big, and there was something in it that looked like an egg. But it couldn't have been an egg. I mean, there aren't any eggs. I mean, there's no egg that big.
Richard Roundtree.
What I want to know is, how the hell does this tie in with the murders and the mutilations?
Candy Clark.
What are you going to do if someone dies tomorrow, or the next day, or the next day?
Well, I'm not going to think about it. You know, it won't be my fault. It'll be theirs if they don't give me what I want.
Money. $1 million in cash, tax-free.
They are.
I'm going to get through these fast. Oh, well, Larry Cohen is relevant to this show because he was Coronet Blue and the Invaders.
Oh, my God.
Were Larry Cohen credits. So we got to get him on.
Yeah.
He's around. How about House with William Catt from 1977?
Oh, was that where it was they had cowboys there, old gunslingers who were
I think so.
rotted ghosts and stuff.
I think so. William Catt from Carrie and The Greatest American Hero.
And more importantly, William Catt, who played the John Ritter role in Problem Child 3.
There you go.
Yes.
Okay, back to Larry Cohen in 1974. It's Alive.
Oh, yes. There's only one thing wrong with the Davis baby. It's alive.
Make a menace of teeny menace effects, she writes. Cheryl Eddy was created by makeup whiz Rick Baker, who would go on to win 7 Oscars.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. Rick Baker, brilliant makeup artist, and he did. Oh, he also did Octoman.
Yes, Octoman.
Which
I think I gave you that.
Yeah, if a 2-year-old did that, you'd say a 2-year-old should know much better makeup techniques.
I think Octoman was on that box set I gave you.
Yes.
Here's one. This is another made-for-TV movie of the week, and we should do a whole show of movies of the week.
Oh,
of ABC movies of the week, because they keep coming up. I brought up one the other day, Andy Griffith and Savages with Timothy Bottoms. It was a most dangerous game.
There
story.
was a movie of the week called Dr. Cook's Garden.
Yes, I know that one.
Yes.
But do you remember Killdozer?
Killdozer.
With Clint Walker?
The title, it's good
and Neville
already.
Brand.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was about a bulldozer that goes on a killing spree.
I think it was based on a true story.
This is based on a novella by Theodore Sturgeon, who was a respected writer. She describes it as the only movie ever about a bulldozer that goes on a killing spree after it's possessed by strange forces emanating from an alien meteorite.
Okay, I'll go along with that.
So how about Night of the Lepus from 1972?
Oh, those little wolf kind of
No, this was
creatures.
about giant rabbits.
Oh, my God.
With Stuart Whitman.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, Killer Bunny Rabbits.
Stuart Whitman was the king of those films.
He was in a lot of bad stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Stuart Whitman. Is he gone?
Oh.
Yeah.
I kind of think so, unless he's home right now listening, which would make it horrible.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I used to get him confused with David Jansen when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
They were sort of similar.
Yeah.
Get me a Stuart Whitman, David Jansen
Yeah, they
type.
had that kind of voice, both of them.
I thought you would know Night of the Lepus for sure. Janet Leigh.
I remember the poster.
Yeah. That's another one of the what she describes as a Nature Strikes Back flick.
Oh, yes.
With killer bunny rabbits. DeForest Kelly's in it. How could you not like it? How about Psychomania from 1973? This is the one about the biker gang that comes back, commits suicide, and comes back from the dead. With George Sanders, of all people.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Now, this film has resonance for me because
and George Sanders wound up killing himself.
He wound up killing himself and leaving a note saying, I'm bored.
Yes.
I was bored. Members of a biker gang who call themselves the Living Dead commit suicide so they can come back as undead soldiers of Satan. Co-written by my former film professor, Arnaud Dussault, who I have mentioned on the show. So there you go. Psychomania, who also wrote The Horror Express.
Oh, wow.
Which I mentioned when we had John Murray
Telly
in here.
Savalas.
There you go. Is Peter Cushing? Peter Cushing's in that one.
Is
Yeah.
Christopher Lee there?
Yeah. How about Shriek of the Mutilated? This is a Yeti movie. I just love these. Do you know this one?
It just seems like it reeks of great special effects.
Well, yes. Well, Gizmodo writes, sometimes a Yeti movie isn't just a Yeti movie. Looks like it was made for $20. I think it's about students being threatened by a Yeti. Again, we got this off this wonderful list. I've seen very, very few of these. I thought for sure.
Oh, yeah.
You who would watch anything.
Yeah, I will.
I thought you would know some of these.
Boy.
So if you know anything about Shriek of the Mutilated, Night of the Lepus, Killdozer, write us. Here's one, because you've been talking about Sugar Hill. This is a blaxploitation gangster zombie movie made by AIP, American International. Not to be confused with Leslie Uggams' version of Sugar Hill.
You know what I was trying to remember?
Yeah.
The Black Exorcist.
There was a Black Exorcist?
Yes.
I remember the SNL sketch with Richard Pryor and Thalmus Russell Lalla.
Yeah, but there was like this black girl, and it was like her name was the name of the picture.
So if anybody knows that one, write us in.
And of course, they had Blackula, and I think they even made Blackenstein.
Well, Kevin Doherty was in here trying to convince us there was a Black Hollywood Squares.
Oh, yes.
I don't remember Blackenstein. Of course, Blackula.
Oh, yeah.
Was William Marshall?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. This is about a voodoo queen who uses zombies to take revenge on white gangsters, which sounds good.
I guess.
Now, here's why this one is interesting. An actress named Zara Cully was in it. And she was better known as Mama on the Jeffersons.
Wow.
She was that old woman,
Wow.
George Jefferson's mother. Not Wheezy's mother, George's mother.
And I remember I think it was in Blackula that Elijah Cook Jr. pops up.
Yeah, I'm sure he's in that one. Do you remember, let's see. Well, we've talked about this one, The Thing with Two Heads.
Oh,
with Ray Milland.
Ray Milland and Rosie Greer.
Rosie Greer. Would you want to explain the plot of The Thing with Two Heads?
Okay.
To the unenlightened?
Ray Milland is a very rich racist.
Right.
And
he's dying.
And
a
he's
dying racist.
dying.
Right.
And he needs to have his head sewn on someone else's body until he takes over the body, and then they cut off that person's head.
Right.
So he has the good fortune.
Rosie Greer's a convict?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Although he was innocent.
Oh, he was innocent.
So
okay,
we
good.
could
So you can
feel
root
bad for him.
Right.
And he gets sewn on Rosie Greer's body.
Right.
Which must start smelling until the end of the day. Rosie Greer was like 600 pounds.
Rosie Greer, who was present at the RFK assassination.
And it's like the special effects here was basically Ray Milland holding his chin on Rosie Greer's shoulder to look like they have two heads.
Right. With Rick Baker as a gorilla.
Oh,
One of many appearances of Rick Baker.
Yeah, he loved gorillas, Rick Baker.
And this one is not to be confused with when we had Bruce Dern on the show.
Oh, yes, the incredible two-headed transplant.
Now, which one came first?
Oh.
That's a good question, because I've only got a date on this one here. The Thing with Two Heads, 1972. Rosie Greer, who was a football player and present at the grabbed Sirhan Sirhan after RFK was shot in the pantry.
And I think Rosie Greer knew how to knit.
Needlepoint.
Yes.
He was famous for needlepoint. The publicity materials.
Not many football players can brag.
Nope,
to them.
but Joe Namath wore pantyhose. The publicity materials warned audiences of seizures, fainting spells, and cerebral hemorrhages. Okay, here's one you got excited about when I came into the room with the papers in my hand. Trog from 1970.
That was the height of Joan Crawford's career.
It's her last role.
Yes.
It's her last on-screen appearance.
Yeah, it has to do with like a Neanderthal man come to life. And I've never actually seen a photo of a Neanderthal man, of course.
Did you see the picture?
Yeah.
Of course you did. Yeah.
And I'm going to say this is not how they looked.
Okay. This is Joan Crawford is a scientist who discovers that a troglodyte is living in the missing link, basically, is alive and well, and she trains him. She tries to train him and domesticate him. And I believe he commits suicide at the end of the film. And there's a little bit of it's like a We Belong Dead, a little bit of a touch of Frankenstein. Okay. And the Wikipedia describes it as, I almost said WikiLeaks. Wikipedia describes it as a combination of Frankenstein and King Kong, or saying it's a Frankenstein-King Kong mashup. Directed by, of all people, Freddie Francis, the cinematographer of Cape Fear and Glory and Elephant Man.
So it was not a proud moment for any of the people.
Although Freddie Francis was the late Freddie Francis, best known as a cinematographer, but also directed Dracula Has Risen from the Grave.
Oh, wow.
And The Creeping Flesh. How about a movie called Tourist Trap with Chuck Connors?
Did that take place in a motel?
It says I don't know. It says a man, lurid tale of a man who turns real people into mannequins for his ghoulish roadside attraction. A little bit of House of Wax.
Yes.
Yeah. 79. Yeah. And how about Werewolf of Washington with Dean Stockwell?
I remember he turns into a werewolf on a plane at one point.
Right. It's a satire. It's a satire. Washington Insider is bitten by a wolf. There's a gypsy woman.
Oh, yes.
Maria Ouspenskaya type of a character. He's a press secretary,
The
apparently.
way you walk is thorny, through no fault of your own. But as the river enters the stream, tears go on to a predestined end.
Beautiful.
Find peace for a moment, my son.
Beautiful. Lovely. How many comics are still doing Maria Ouspenskaya?
Not enough.
In their acts. Is Franklin Ajayi still out there doing Maria Ouspenskaya? It's brilliant. And then when we had Drew on the show, he tried to convince us that Chico Marx went on a date with Maria Ouspenskaya.
Oh, that's the one I found out about.
Was it you?
Yes.
Did that happen?
It did happen.
It's in the Muppet video that the boys made of us.
I was talking to Maxine Marx, Chico's daughter.
And she told you this.
And he said that Chico and Maria Ouspenskaya went out to dinner together.
For what reason?
God knows, but I picture her in the gypsy outfit and him in the pointed hat.
They went out in costume.
And she said, Maxine Marx said she was taking for a while acting lessons from Maria Ouspenskaya.
Wow.
Because she came over with Stanislavski.
Well, we had Marvin Kaplan on the show. He knew her. He knew Maria Ouspenskaya. He worked with her. I think he studied with her. Yeah. So our last two are Willard The original
Well,
Willard?
Willard, yeah.
Now, do you have any memory of this?
Yeah, also Ernest Borgnine.
And Elsa Lanchester.
Oh, wow.
And Sandra Locke.
And what's his name who's always playing the nut?
Bruce Davison.
Bruce Davison.
Right.
And I remember that has that line where, of course, Ernest Borgnine's the bad guy.
Right.
And so Willard shows up, and Ernest Borgnine looks down, and there are rats circling him. And he goes, "Look at all those rats." And Willard goes, "You made me hate myself. Well, now I like myself."
My God, look at the rats. Mr. Martin, I have a number of things to tell you. First, you stole the business from my father. And second, it killed my mother. She died this morning, Willard, at 9:42 in my arms. And third, you're trying to ruin me.
You hold up my sales department or even my shipping department one more time. Shut up, Willard.
You made me hate myself. Well, I like myself now.
I'm frightened.
And that was then, remember the sequel?
Oh, yeah. What was the sequel? Ben.
Yeah.
Ben with the Michael Jackson song.
You're always running here and there.
Right, in 72. Willard was 71 and Ben was 72. Was Ben Davison, Bruce Davison, also the star of Ben?
I don't think so, because
Right.
I think he probably died at the end.
Probably. He had to be punished.
He probably got killed by the rats, if I remember
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Doesn't Borgnine get eaten by the rats?
Oh, of course.
Of course.
But he was the bad guy.
Right.
And then, of course, the guy who's, he was the one training the rats. And so, of course, the monster has to turn against him.
Of course. And then there was a remake in 2003 with Crispin Glover, who's perfect casting.
Oh, my God, yeah.
And the last two on here, I jumped. The Wizard of Gore, directed by the late Herschel Gordon Lewis, who just passed away. And one we've talked about on this show, and we'll wrap with this, is The Wicker Man.
Oh, with
The
Christopher
original,
Lee.
And the weird sneakers.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, which is the most disturbing film I've ever seen.
Now, I've seen The Wizard of Gore, and
Yeah.
I remember I saw another film
Montag the Magnificent.
called Gore Girls. And I think they said in one of his movies, a girl has her tongue ripped out. And so they went to a butcher shop and got a cow's tongue. And she had to keep that in her mouth.
Wow.
And it went on for a while, and they didn't have refrigeration. It was a low-budget set. And the tongue started turning rotten, so they would spray it with Lysol and put it back in the girl's mouth.
Oh, God.
Yeah. It was not an easy shoot.
God. All right, so if any of our listeners have good information or inside information or any good trivia on any of these, I thought for sure you would know the asphyx and be intimately familiar with Bad Ronald or Killdozer.
Wow.
But we'll do an episode about movies of the week.
Oh,
because that's
yes,
something that
yes.
keeps coming up. And here's something I want to throw out to our listeners before we go. I'm trying to remember a horror movie from when I was a kid, and all I remember about it was the opening scene. It was a young couple on the beach they're seized by Satan worshipers and burned alive.
Ooh.
They're burned at the stake. Does anybody remember what this movie was? It's the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Oh,
Does it ring a bell? It's got Wicker Man kind of a feel to it. Very disturbing. Anyway, I saw it as a kid. I can't remember what it is. And if anybody out there knows, because this is what we rely upon, our listeners, to come up with this stuff. So that's it.
Yeah.
All right, and that's it for Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
Happy Halloween. And we'll do an episode for Movies of the Week.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And this has been Gilbert and Frank's Amazing Colossal Obsession.
Here we go, boys. Gilbert and Frank's Colossal Obsession. Gilbert and Frank's Colossal Colossal Obsessions.